was living in Vanuatu with my boyfriend at the time. Vanuatu is an archipelago of islands in Melanesia. It's right near Papua New Guinea. And me and my boyfriend at the time, we wanted to get as far off the grid as possible. So that's why we chose Vanuatu. When we went there, there was very little tourism infrastructure at all. So if you wanted a place to sleep, you had to find someone who was kind enough to open their hut to you. And we would wait hungrily at night sometimes until a family remembered in the village to bring us a plate of bat or fox or whatever the food was for the night. So not only were we in Vanuatu, but we decided to go to the farthest, most northern tip that we could get to of the archipelago. And we found ourselves living with a tribe of Nivans who most of them had never seen a white person before. There were a few people in the community who had seen white people before, and they were the elders of the community. They were over 60-ish, and they vaguely remembered being young children, and they remembered missionaries coming and visiting their tribe. So what would happen is the missionaries would come up by boat and jump off the boat and swim to shore, and then they would build these palm frond churches, and they would start to preach and teach the Nivans about Jesus and about their rituals like Christmas, and they would teach them hymns and songs. And the Nivans didn't speak English, so they were learning these songs completely phonetically. So what would happen is the Nivans, out of, I guess, gratitude and respect for these missionaries, after they taught them this stuff, would kill them and then eat them. Because at the time, Vanuatu was full of cannibalism, like all of Melanesia was at the time. And cannibalism, I have to tell you, I did a little bit of research before I went to Vanuatu about cannibalism, and it's got a really bad rap. Because it's true. It's highly organized, and it's a ritual, and it's an important spiritual event in the community, and it's organized by the shaman, and it's not necessarily barbaric in any way. It's a really important part of their culture that's meaningful to them, and it makes sense to them. And in a way, it's a way of what you're doing when you're cannibalizing someone is you're ingesting their power and their intelligence. So it's a form of great respect, right? You don't cannibalize a dumb person, right? So then the Nivans told us, you don't need to worry. We will not be cannibalizing you. We had it outlawed in the 60s. We're not allowed to do it anymore. We don't think you're smart. You don't have anything to offer us. And also, white meat is very, very salty. That was told to my face. So we were entrenched in this community. We got really deeply involved with this small community on the edge of the world. And we found ourselves spearfishing late at night with them. And they taught us how to hunt boar. And I found myself, beating laundry on rocks with the women while my boyfriend was in the hut with the men learning magic and ritual and things that only the men in the community were allowed to learn. And then we would all gather together at night in the Palm Frond Church, and we would sing these hymns together. And like I said, they sang them phonetically, so sometimes it was really funny. It would, "Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth." And then the priest of the church would take us all outside, and he would throw chicken bones on the ground and divine what the weather was going to be like the next day. So it's Christmas Eve day, and we're enjoying ourselves. But I can tell that the community feels really worried about us. They don't understand, why are these white people spending their most important holiday with us? We do not celebrate Christmas. We're not really Christian. they would look at us and they would ask us, they'd say, you know, you're over 30, you're not married, you're barren, you don't have parents to take care of. We were, to them, the saddest people in the world. And so all Christmas Eve day, they brought us gifts. They brought us eel to eat. They brought us fresh prawns. They would drop off their kids at our hut to entertain us. One woman actually took me into her hut, and she gave me this uterine massage. In the end, she found a demon inside me. She exorcised it. And I felt it. It was awesome. And so that night, we're lying in our hut on our grass mat, and then we hear it. We hear people sneaking towards us. And we're in the jungle, and it's completely silent, and we can tell it's a large group of people. And we can tell they don't want to be heard. And we see a torch being lit, and the shadow from the torch splashes up onto the wall, and I see the shadow of a man in a loincloth holding a torch creeping up to my hut. And me and my boyfriend look at each other, and we think, cannibals. They've been lying to us. They were feeding us food because they were fattening us up. This is their Christmas feast. And when I think about it, salty meat is the tastiest kind of meat. And I look at my boyfriend and I get even more terrified because he is absolutely terrified. And I stand up and I look at him and I think, I am never going to get to have a child. I am never going to get to leave you and find someone better. My mother will never find my body. I am going to be stabbed or gored or skinned or burned. It will be slow, it will be painful, it will be torturous. And standing there in the hut on Christmas Eve, I just crapped my pants. I just voided my bowels all over the floor. And I don't know, I assume that a lot of people in here as adults have voided their bowels at some point. I'm going to assume that I'm not the only one in the room. So you will know that it is not a solid experience. It's like this fierce fear explosion, right? It just shoots out of you and there's no control, and it just shot me back and it sprayed down my legs and it pooled around the floor. And only in that moment did my boyfriend decide to be a man and go outside to check on the cannibals. So he opens the door to get a breath of fresh air. And I imagine him just getting a spear in the belly, right? And getting slammed back into the wall, and I think I'm never going to see him again. But instead, he opens the door, and I hear, "Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth." And the entire community had snuck up on us because they didn't want to scare us. And they had surrounded our hut, and they were holding candles, not torches. And unbeknownst to us, they had been practicing 3 Christmas carols in the jungle by themselves. They were so thankful that we came to spend Christmas with them and that we wanted to learn about their culture and about what they did day to day, that they wanted to give us the gift back and share with us a bit of our culture. And they sang us these 3 Christmas carols 6 times each. They just had it on repeat. And we stood on this little porch and we listened. And I remember standing in my own filth on the edge of the world, and I have never felt more at home. Thank you.